Hey, Creekside Youth, it's Colleen. I'll be teaching to y'all this week out of our Meet Jesus series, and I just really wanted to let you guys know how much I miss you. I miss you so much. I cannot wait until we are in the youth room together again, and we get to play some amazing games, team up in our tribes. Shout out to Blue Thunder. And yeah, just hug y'all, see y'all, talk with y'all. I'm thankful that we have this opportunity to connect, but just wanted to do a small plug, just in case you don't know. On Wednesday nights, we are Zooming together. And so while it's not the same as being together, I will say it has been wonderful to hear just from y'all and what's going on in your lives, and just connecting spiritually, and even just, I don't know, chatting self-care and what we're binge watching. It's just been super nice to get to connect with y'all there. So if you haven't joined in on Wednesday nights, check your email. There is a Zoom link there, and I would just really encourage you guys to come join us, because it's really been so wonderful for me, and I think it's been so wonderful for for everyone to just have a place and a time to connect regularly. So okay, we're in John chapter 10. Carly 2 weeks ago kicked off the first part of this chapter, and that was a super great message. So go listen to that. And then John continued us on, and there's this analogy of Jesus being the shepherd. He says, I am the good shepherd, and he goes into kind of what that means. And then where I'm going to pick up today, we're in John 10. We start at verse 22, and we're going to go to verse 30. So it's not quite that much to read, but there is kind of a lot that's going on in here. So we're going to unpack that, and and kind of lean into the really cool truths that Jesus is revealing here about himself and about God. So we'll start off at verse 22. It says, at that time, the Feast of Dedication took place at Jerusalem. It was winter, and Jesus was walking in the temple, in the colonnade of Solomon. So the Jews gathered around him and said to him, how long will you keep us in suspense? If you are the Christ, tell us plainly. Jesus answered them, I told you, and you do not believe. The works that I do in my Father's name bear witness about me, but you do not believe because you are not among my sheep. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. I give them eternal life, and they will never perish, and no one will snatch them out of my hand. My Father, who has given them to me, is greater than all, and no one is able to snatch them out of the Father's hand. I and the Father are one. All right, so what's happening here is Jesus is walking around, and the Jews gather around him, and I think that it would be really nice to think oh no, they really just want Jesus to clear up any misunderstanding, and they have really great intentions behind this question. Yet what you'll see from literally picking up in verse 31, which whoever, I think it's Will that's teaching next week, he'll start off there. I think that it's really clear that they really weren't asking because they wanted to know and believe. It really does seem like they were asking in order to get something to really pin on Jesus, to justify what they wanted to do, which is attack him, discredit him, kind of all the things that we've been talking about, that the Pharisees and stuff have wanted to do to Jesus, because he is walking around and performing miracles and causing a stir and shaking up so many of the things that, their Jewish culture is rooted in. And Jesus is coming and he's like, no to this. I'm expanding on this. Like, come, have abundant life. And they are just like, they're just not happy about all the changes that are coming along with the things that Jesus is teaching. When they ask him, they say, like, how long are you going to keep us in suspense, Jesus? If you're the Christ, just tell us plainly. And Jesus responds, like, I've already told you, and you don't believe. I have also shown you. He says, the works that I do in my Father's name bear witness about me, but you don't believe. And he says in the very next part of this sentence, he says, you don't believe because you are not my sheep. I think it's so interesting. I feel like, in certain times of, just talking with people, I'll hear people say, like, gosh, like, it'd be so much easier to believe if I like witnessed these miracles. Like, if I was able to see all the things that it says that Jesus did, like, oh, then I would have great faith. Or, gosh, if I could just hear really, really, really clearly that, God says this, and it's like, he, boom, mic drop, which we'll get to the mic drop. I feel like Jesus totally drops the mic at the end of this. But it's like, oh, then I would have great faith. If I saw it with my eyes, if I heard his voice audibly with my ears, like, bam, then that's when I would, like, it would just be undeniable. My faith would be undeniable, but it's just not the case, because here are people that are seeing Jesus do these things. They're following him around and they're hearing him say these words, and it's like it falls on blind eyes and it falls on deaf ears. Even a couple weeks ago when I taught, we were talking about the blind man, and, where Jesus spit in the mud and he mixed the mud and his saliva up and he wiped it on the blind man's eyes. And the people saw, they even gathered the parents of the blind man to come and, like, bear witness that this was their child that was blind. And the thing is even though it's happening right in front of them, what did they see? What did the Jewish people see? Did they see Jesus perform this miracle? Or, what they clearly explain and go with is that they saw a man that broke the law of the Sabbath. Like, how is that what you see when this blind man now has the miracle of sight? It's not, it's falling on spiritually blind eyes, and it's falling on spiritually deaf ears. And so because of this, they can't see. And Jesus says it here, it's, you are not among my sheep. And then he goes in and he says qualities and these really cool perks of being his sheep. He says, my sheep, they hear my voice and I know them and they follow me. So being one of his sheep is being able to hear spiritual truth, to be able to feel it, to be able to recognize it. All of that is part of being one of Jesus's sheep. And I love that he says that I know them and they follow me. I love that it's not the other way around. I love that it doesn't say, like, they know me and they follow me, because because we actually don't have to know that much about Jesus in order to be considered one of his sheep, in order to believe in him. I mean, when I first believed, I didn't know very much about Jesus. I didn't know all the miracles that he performed. I didn't know. I still am on this great journey of getting to know Jesus, and he's revealing new, fresh things to me all the time. I love that that he so clearly says, like, I know them, like, and he does. He knows us, and when we're his, he he knows. Um, he knows us and wants us and speaks to us and calls to us and protects us and gives us abundant life, just because we're his and he knows us. And I think the cool thing to know is, in knowing us, like, he knows that we mess up, and he knows that we don't get things right, and he knows that, he knows everything about us. And yet we are his, and we get that abundant life, and we get that protection of being completely his. Pick up again in verse 28. He says, I give them eternal life. They will never perish, and no one will snatch them out of my hands. My Father, who has given them to me, is greater than all, and no one is able to snatch them out of the Father's hands. I and the Father are one. I'm going to sum this up really fast because I am already over on time. Shocker, I know. But it's like, gosh, we have ultimate security in, like Carly said, being in like the sheepfold. We get to take to the bank that we are his, that he loves us, that he is protecting us. And within that security, that's where we find freedom and abundant life.